If you're planning to retire soon and looking for a new house, you're probably doing so because your current house doesn't meet your needs as you age. You have to be really careful what type of house you buy. Today, I'm giving you a rundown on the types of houses that I would never buy. Let's get started. Hey, before we get started though, I just want to remind you, make sure you take a look there in the comments. I have a really good following, and sometimes my viewers really have a great perspective on things. They leave comments there with some insider type information. And if you have questions about some of the specifics that we're talking about, feel free to leave them there as well. I always answer as many questions as possible directly, but some of my viewers like to chime in and give some really good info too. So let's talk about houses. So the first type of house that I would never buy is a house in the 100-year flood zone. So there's actually 5 different type of flood zones, ranging from low to moderate to high risk. So most of the houses that would be in a high or moderate risk flood zone are going to be either on the coast, on a river, or on a lake somewhere. And the reason I would not want to do that is, number one, the cost of flood insurance is really high in those moderate to high risk areas. That's just another expense you don't want to have to deal with. The other situation is, well, who wants the house to flood? I don't know if you've ever been around a flooded area, but it's horrible. It is one of the worst types of claims that you could ever have to file on your homeowner's insurance. And if you live in one of those moderate to high risk areas and you've got a federally backed mortgage, you're actually required to have flood insurance. Sure, you can always evacuate if it looks like it's going to flood, but that's just another situation that at this point in your life you wouldn't want to deal with. What if you are someone who has mobility issues and you are in a wheelchair or have to use a walker? It's a real pain to have to pack up everything and go somewhere else just because it's flooding. And once again, it is just yucky. Most of the people who deal with those situations, even though there is flood insurance to pay for it, they almost lose everything. So that's why I would never buy a house in a 100-year flood zone. So another type of house that I would never buy is an older manufactured home. And before you come at me in the comments saying that I'm elitist or anything like that, I am not against manufactured housing. There are some really cool options out there these days, and they're made with different materials and different methods. So there's some really good options. But the older manufactured homes were not made with good materials. They are small, they are narrow often, and just not something that at this point in your life, in your retirement years, that you would want to deal with. Some of those houses, the floors actually fall in. The windows will fall right out. So it just makes sense to me that instead of buying an older manufactured home, you just buy a newer model. There's really great options about, you can either lease land or buy a piece of property that you could put one of those manufactured homes on. And if you haven't seen any of the product that's out there, they're doing some amazing things. And if you go to remodel an older manufactured home, you're literally rebuilding it. It's gonna need new roof, it's gonna need new windows, probably new flooring. And a lot of those homes had flat roofs. And so you can just imagine some of the issues that might be involved with that. I would never buy an older manufactured home. You're also not gonna find me buying a home in a remote area. I'm currently dealing with this issue with my dad in West Texas. He's in a small town, actually the town that both of us grew up in. He's in the 4th house on the same street since the 3rd grade. At this point, his health is not great, and he is at least 30 to 35 minutes away from emergency care if he needs it. And if he needs something done to his house or a specialty type of service, he has very few options. And it's difficult to get to him when I need to get to him. For me to get to my dad, it's a 3 airport day. So I'm in Atlanta, so I fly from Atlanta to Dallas to Abilene, and then I get in a car for 45 minutes. So if he needs me really quickly, it's almost impossible for me to get there. They used to have a hospital there with an emergency room, but about 5 years ago, they lost it. So all of his health care is, like I say, 30 to 45 minutes away. So no thank you. At this point in my life, I'm just not buying a house in a remote area. It may not be a popular subject, but another type of house that I'm never buying is a house that's been remodeled by a flipper. So the whole point of flipping a house is to buy it cheap, remodel it, and maximize profit. In order to maximize profit, you have to use cheaper materials and cheap labor. I'm just not going to deal with that. You just don't know. Were the contractors licensed and insured? What type of product did they use? Did they pull all the permits that were needed? What kind of shortcuts did they use? It just screams potential problems to me. And sure, you can have it inspected and all of that, but you just don't know really what's inside the walls and that type of thing. I'm just not going to deal with that. So I'm never going to buy a house that was remodeled by a flipper. Have you ever had any experience with any of these kind of houses? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. Like I said, I've got a really great following, and so many of my viewers have some really good information, and they take the liberty to share their insights. So make sure you check out that comment section as well. I'm a local realtor here in Georgia, so if you need help finding the perfect home for your retirement, I would love to help. I help people downsize and relocate here all the time. All of my contact information is in the description and in the comments, and you'll actually even find a link to my calendar where you can schedule a time that's convenient for you. Y'all, no matter how cute the house is or what a great deal it looks like, I'm never buying a house in a bad school district. And I know you're wondering why that would matter to someone who doesn't have kids in school. Well, houses in bad school districts are not appreciating like houses in the good school districts. They're just not in the demand that houses in good school districts are. And at this point in your retirement, you need to do everything you can to protect your investments. When you go to sell that house, it's actually possible that maybe you would even lose money and have to sell it for less than you paid for it because the area has continued to deteriorate. So at this point, I'm just never buying a house in a bad school district. If you're buying a home for your retirement, I would never buy a 3-story townhome. There are some townhomes that have elevators, but I don't even want to deal with that. Townhome designs have normally 3 levels, at least 3, sometimes 2, but all those stairs. And normally, because of the width of the homes, the staircases are narrow as well. I have seen very few floor plans where the townhome would have the master suite on the same level as the kitchen, living, and dining area. And not to mention the garage or the laundry area. And there are some floor plans that do have elevators in some communities. Normally they're pricey. You'll definitely pay for that elevator, but I don't want to deal with the maintenance and the repair issues of an elevator. These days I'm finding it hard to even find a good HVAC contractor or a plumbing company. Can you imagine how difficult it is to find somebody to come out to repair your elevator if you need it? And if you need the elevator, you need the elevator. I'm just not going to buy a house, a 3-story townhome, for that reason, even if it does have the elevator. For me, stairs are not an issue at this point in my life, but my husband, he's 21 years older than me, and I'm a marathon runner. I actually choose the stairs most of the time, but he avoids them. So it just wouldn't be the right investment for us to buy a house buy a 3-story townhome. What if you find yourself, you may be perfectly healthy now and stairs don't bother you, but something could happen. You could fall, and then what if you need to use a cane, a walker, or even a wheelchair? Townhomes are not designed for that, and that could really be a hardship if you found yourself needing that. I'm not buying a 3-story townhome with or without an elevator. Y'all, I am never buying a house in Georgia without central air conditioning. We have some hot, humid summers. And even though our climate is still considered to be mild compared to some areas like Florida, I am not doing without my central air conditioning. I don't know if you've ever lived in a house that had the window units. They're not effective, they are not efficient, and they can be really expensive to run to get your home comfortable, especially in our hot summer. And the older I get, the cooler I want to sleep at night. Sure that I would break the bank trying to get it cool enough for me to sleep comfortably if I did not have central air conditioning. And because we have humidity too, without that air circulating the way it does with central air, you could end up with mold issues inside your home. That's just one more thing health-wise you don't want to deal with. So how did I do? Did I leave anything off the list that you would have considered a definite no to buying that type of house? Did I ruffle some feathers? Do you disagree with some of the types of houses that I'm never going to buy, never going to recommend you buy either? I would love to hear about it in the comments. Like I say, I've got some great viewers that get engaged in those comments, and I would love to see some of that commentary. And as a reminder, I'm a local realtor. I help people downsize and relocate here all the time. And if I can help you find that perfect retirement home, I would love to. All of my contact information is in the description of the video. It's also in the comment section. You'll find not only my phone number, my email address, but also a link to my calendar where you can see when I'm available and choose a time to book a call that's convenient for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.